Okay, I need to redo it.
You want
I open the meeting of December 5th, 2022 at 6 o'clock. Please join me for the flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Brown,
He's here.
thank you. Cole,
Here.
Reed,
Mr. Reed is not on.
Stewart,
Here.
Newman,
Here.
Potato,
Here.
Hochstetter. Here.
All right. So Councilmember Reed is absent from tonight's meeting. Do I have a motion to excuse?
So moved.
And
I'll second it.
seconded by Councilmember Potato. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, consent agenda. Will the clerk please read the consent agenda?
Item number 1, 2023 legislative agenda. Item 2, consultant services agreement 2024 comprehensive plan. Item 3, resolution number 1645, WSCJTC Police Officer Wellness Grant Award. Item 4, approval of the checks and the electronic payments in the amount of $2,004,523.98. Item 5, approval of the meeting minutes from the November 7th, 2022 regular council meeting and the 14th and 28th November 2022 study session. Item 6, approval of the collective bargaining agreement with the Sumner Police Guild representing special commissioned and non-commissioned employees. Item 7, Main and Wood intersection improvements, construction contract award.
Thank you. Can I get a motion from Deputy Mayor Hochstetter?
Yes, I move we adopt the consent agenda.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councilmember Potato. Does anybody want to remove anything on the consent agenda? Anybody want to remove? Seeing none. All in favor? Please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Passes unanimous. All
Mayor.
right.
Hey, Mayor, before we move on, this is Andrea over here. Before we move on, Councilmember Reed is here, and so I just wanted the record to reflect that he did show up.
Okay. Councilmember Reed is here. All right, so we will move on to a public hearing. Ordinance number 2838, 2023, 2024 biennial budget. And I will call on Cassandra Raymond. I will open the public hearing at 6:03. Thank you.
Am I on now? All right. So Cassandra Raymond, your Chief Financial Officer. On tonight's agenda is a public hearing for the 2023-2024 biennial budget. The revised Code of Washington requires that the city to hold both a preliminary and a final hearing on the proposed budget. This hearing process provides our Sumner residents with the opportunity to voice their opinions prior to the adoption of the biennial budget. Our first public hearing was held November 7th of 2022. No comments were received at that meeting, and this is our final hearing with adoption scheduled for later in this meeting. The city formally began the budget process on April the 11th, 2022 with a review and update of the City Council strategic priorities. We've continued with staff budget development, executive review, 8 public meetings and 2 formal hearings. In addition to the formal public hearings, the 2023-24 biennial budget has been made available to the public via both our website and our Sumner Connects engagement page. The 23-24 biennial budget includes revenues of $212,592,640 and expenditures of $212,592,640. That includes our beginning and ending fund balances. And I'd like to invite questions from the public.
All right, do we have any comments from the public? In the public on Zoom? None? All right. I will close the hearing at 6:05.
Okay, thank you very much.
Moving on to regular business, ordinance number 2838, the 2023-2024 biennial budget. And I will again, Deputy Mayor Hochstetter, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I move we adopt ordinance number 2838, our 2023 and 2024 biennial budget.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councilmember Potato, and I will call on Chief Financial Officer Cassandra Raymond.
Thank you, Mayor. Here we are. We are here proposing ordinance 2838, adopting our 2023-2024 biennial budget. My thanks first to our public, our city council, and our staff. We have been working on this biennial budget for a very long time, and it's time now to bring it to fruition. I won't repeat everything that I said during the public hearing, but the 23-24 biennial budget really does lay out a very responsible, transparent, and robust work plan for 2023 and 2024. We've tried very hard to clearly tie the work plan to City Council's strategic priorities and be as transparent as that as possible. City Council can be proud of the budget we're putting forth tonight, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions for Cassandra? No questions. All right. Thank you. So,
Mayor, Councilmember Stewart has a question.
Councilmember Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't really have a question. I just wanted to thank Cassandra and her staff for putting together a very comprehensive, well thought out budget, and the mayor and the city administrator for working with the departments. It's really a great document, and I look forward to the next 2 years. Thank you so much for your good work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, since this has had previous public hearings, we will not be taking comments from the public. So will the clerk please call the roll?
Cole,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes,
Hochstetter,
Yes,
Potato,
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
This is unanimous. Thank you for all your hard work. I know you love it. All right, we're moving on to ordinance number 2844, vacating the Riverwalk Trail. Councilmember Stewart, would you like to make a motion?
yes, thank you, Mayor. I move to adopt ordinance number 2844, vacating the public trail adjacent to the Riverwalk condominiums back to the HOA where it was originally dedicated, reserving only a public access easement necessary to comply with the development's shoreline requirement.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
yes, I'll second that.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor Hochstetter. And I will call on City Attorney Andrea Marquez.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Back in 1993, the trail section adjacent to the Riverwalk condominiums was dedicated to the city of Sumner as public right-of-way for our trail system. The map that's being shown on the screen right now shows the area of the trail that the city proposes to vacate. It is the section that abuts the Riverwalk condominiums, and it stops at the large open pipeline easement property. The trail sections that connect to this stretch of paved trail are all privately owned and privately maintained, leaving this public area of trail landlocked. Since 2001, the city of Sumner has been maintaining the paved surface of this trail section, with the HOA being required to maintain everything else, including vegetation surrounding the paved surface. Many years ago, the HOA placed private property and no trespassing signage at the entrance to the right-of-way, which leads the public to believe the trail section is not open for their free use. That is problematic, as the city has been expending public money to maintain that paved surface, but unfortunately, it is not being fully utilized by the public as a whole. Rather, it appears to be more heavily used by the occupants and owners of the Riverwalk condominiums and the nearby homes. In recent conversations related to the future of the city's trail system, the city determined that this area of trail is not the safest or most feasible option to extend to Highway 162 like was once anticipated. Instead, the city has shifted its focus and resources to designing a safe connection between the Sumner Link trail system that ends at Traffic Avenue, going over the river and connecting to Puyallups Riverwalk Trail to keep the trail systems contiguous but also safe. The city has been in communication with the condominiums HOA for about 6 months now, discussing this proposed right-of-way vacation. And in requesting, the HOA requested that the city pave the surface of the trail one last time before vacating it back. And that work was completed in October. State law permits the city to charge up to 50% of the assessed value of right-of-way that it vacates. But here, these circumstances are unusual. And so the city is recommending that the stretch of trail be vacated free of charge, given that the city did not pay to acquire it originally, and that the HOA has shared in the maintenance obligations since 1993. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Do we have any discussion with council members or questions for Andrea? Deputy Mayor.
Ms. Marquez, did you hear any more from the people that were here questioning about that at our last study session?
I did not hear from those same commenters. I did receive 2 additional emails from other members of the public.
And you were able to answer their questions concerning this?
I did not respond to their emails just yet. Those weren't part of the formal record, but I'd be glad to respond and answer their questions.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it was after the,
it was this week.
okay. Okay, I was just curious because sometimes we never hear the rest of the story after there's people here with lots of questions.
Sure, I'd be glad to respond to everybody.
All right, thank you.
All right. Any other comments or discussion from council? Seeing none. Well, since we've already had a public hearing, we won't be taking comments from the public. So will the clerk please call the roll?
Stewart,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Hochstetter,
Yes,
Newman,
Yes.
Potato,
Yes.
Cole.
I abstain.
All right. Passes.
Councilmember Cole, I'm sorry to clarify this point, but our council rules don't allow you to abstain. If you want to recuse yourself from voting, you may, or you could vote no if you're uncomfortable voting for the vacation. But
Well, I just recuse myself just because I live in the development.
sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we will move on to Bus Up Master Services Agreement. Councilmember Newman, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I move, sorry, and I don't have the number in front of me, but I would actually, could someone else make the motion because I can't talk?
All right, do we have a motion? Go ahead.
I make a motion to approve the Bus Up Master Service Agreement, MIC Transit.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I can second.
Councilmember Newman. All right. I will call on Community Director Ryan Windish.
Thank you, Mayor Hayden, members of the City Council. Before you tonight is approval of a master services agreement for Bus Up Incorporated. And this is to operate and manage a micro transit system that would serve the city of Sumner's manufacturing and industrial center and the employees in this area. The employers for these employees will pay the fare for the employees, and their money will go toward offsetting the costs to the city. The fee for the initial 6-month pilot project will be $60,000. That's $10,000 per month. And the following 6 months will be for $82,500, or about $13,750 per month. The city will monitor the success of the program, and we can terminate the service if ridership is insufficient. So this is a pilot project in that area. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion from the council? Any discussion? Councilmember Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Windisch, I have a number of questions that I hope you can answer. Is a representative from Bus Up available by any chance?
There are representatives from Bus Up available, yes.
Well, maybe, I don't know. The questions and comments that I have are very important to me, and I would assume some of the other council members in order to protect the interests of the city. So if I might, and I'll go through this quickly, I know we've got a full agenda tonight. We have been discussing this item since August. And I'm just curious, what other cities, United States cities of our size, being 12 to 13,000, has Bus Up contracted with since August?
Okay, well, either Bobby Latterjung or Will Hutchison from Bus Up could respond to that question. They are participants that are being promoted to be able to speak in the meeting.
There we are.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Mhm.
Bus Up is not contracted with any other cities in the United States.
Okay, thank you for that answer. Next one, I got the impression, and I don't want to assume anything, but I got the impression as we've discussed this item in the past that Bus Up has made contact with and maybe even commitments with several of the employers in the manufacturing industrial center. Is that true?
Yes, that is correct.
And the nature of the commitments, can you explain that quickly?
Certainly, Bus Up has a global master services agreement with Amazon. We also have pending support from REI, LKQ, Evo, and a number of others.
Okay, I guess specifically now I'm curious if during those discussions, was there any commitment made committing the city to do anything prior to having a contract?
Would you mind rephrasing the question? I'm not sure I understand.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's a little confusing. I'm just curious if when you had these discussions with those companies that you mentioned, and maybe Ryan was there with you representing the city, was there any sort of commitment made by you or Mr. Windisch that would commit the city to doing anything prior to there being a contract?
No, that would be premature.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to scroll through the contract if you don't mind. I've got a couple of points that are concerning me. How many bus operators do you have an agreement with?
We work with over 250 bus operators globally. On the West Coast, we are partnered legally with probably about 8.
Okay, and these are operators of full-size buses as opposed to vans, or does that include vans?
That's correct. Our fleet size ranges from 14 passenger vehicles up to 56 passenger motor coaches. The smaller end being a Ford Transit or Mercedes Sprinter style van, the larger being more of a motor coach style with restrooms.
Okay, and since you don't have any agreements with other cities in the United States, what is the nature of your business using these vans? You said you had 8 vans. Can you describe briefly what you do in those contracts?
Yes, I'm sorry, perhaps I misspoke. It's not that we have 8 vans. We actually have an unlimited fleet. Our model as a company is to be a management and consulting service, and we have also built the technology to administer the program. So the idea is that theoretically, the city of Sumner has access to all of the resources available within the local market. So for example, we know that there are 6 to 8 qualified by Washington Department of Transportation bus operators to operate private services. Those would partner with our company in order to deliver the resources that are needed in order to deliver this service. In the more localized area, we have 2 or 3 particular operators that are partnered to be able to deliver on this particular service.
Okay, thank you for that. Now I'm going to refer to a couple of paragraphs in the contract, and apologies to the city attorney who has spent hours refining this when we first talked about it, but these just jumped off the page to me as I studied it today. In section, let's see, where is it? 1.0, oh, excuse me, yeah, 1.03, it talks about in paragraph E that the city, the customer's responsibility is to not attempt to modify, reverse, or engineer the services. And we go on down below further in that paragraph, for purposes of monitoring the availability, performance, or functionality of the services, or for any other benchmarking or competitive purposes. So that, what bothers me about that is when if we go into a contract and the first year is up, it is in our best interest to be able to seek competitive proposals. And the only way we could do that sufficiently is to provide information to the prospective competitors, giving them statistical information about the number of riders, the statistics regarding the employment routes and things like that. So I don't like the way that's worded. Can you explain? I imagine it's there to protect you and your company, but what do you see as the benefit for the city to accept that responsibility?
Sure, I completely understand your position, council member. For reference, I have been working with Ryan Windish on designing a program like this, or conceptualizing a program like this, and establishing relationships with the different employers for close to 4 or 5 years now. The intention of our company is to not accept any profit whatsoever for the first year. That said, the last 3 to 4 years of service in evangelizing to get to tonight's vote, I have not asked for a single cent. The first year of this service, I was fortunate enough to get my leadership to agree to not accept any profit because I have an extremely high level of confidence of success given many statistical metrics, the relationships forged, and so on. So that second year of service is imperative for not only a healthy relationship between the city and our company, and team members that have given a lot to be able to put a service in place at very low cost and low risk. So we hope that you can understand that we really do depend on that second year of service in order for us to achieve our internal goals. Thank you for the question.
Sure, I understand your concept totally. I just am not comfortable. Basically, what you're wanting us to do is commit to a second year. And I mean, that's what it sounded like to me, that you're looking forward to a second year, given a successful first year. So
I would say that that's an accurate statement. We would most certainly look forward to a second year if the first year is successful. Yes.
okay. Then, and I'll move quickly through. There's only two other points that I'm concerned about. Article 2, compensation and payment. In paragraph 2.2 or section 2.02, invoicing and payment, it implies that the invoices, I'll read the language here. Let's see. Oh, shoot, I can't put my fingers on it right now, but it talks about payment in advance. I don't know if it uses that wording, where an invoice would be sent to the city and there
I'm
it is.
happy to explain that, council member.
Okay, go ahead.
Sure. So the way that our program works, and this is what's unique about our company Bus Up, is that when I say low cost and low risk, this is how this works, is that the city sure will fund a service, call it $10,000 per month initially, in order for us to be able to ensure that we can pay the bus drivers, which generally you do a charter, you do really anything, you always have to pay, for a bus before you actually receive the service. That's just the way that the industry is configured.
Mhm.
So once we pay for the service, then Bus Up's model is evangelizing those relationships that we talked about with the businesses and our technology, which helps to process those payments from the riders, so that the next month, if we have collected $2,000 from riders of REI, Amazon, and some of these other employers, you're not going to owe the full $10,000 next month. You're going to owe $8,000 because the invoice sent to you is going to show the depreciating cost to the city of Sumner as the ridership rises. However, the very first month, in order to get service paid, it will be that full price. You're totally right.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. And I don't disagree with standard transportation industry paying the fare when you get on the bus instead of paying when you get off. The concern I have is under a contract relationship, payment in advance prior to services rendered is somewhat unusual in the public sector. And then I just have one other comment. It looks like a cost, and there's no cost mentioned, but do you have a feel for, in your example of the master, let's say, service order that was attached to the contract, where it talks about the custom vehicle wrap, that the cost of wrapping the vehicle, being the van, would be paid or borne by the city of Sumner. Do you have any idea what that normally costs?
Yes, and I'm glad that you asked, because our company has been working with Ryan Windish, Mr. Windish, on that. And we believe that Bus Up is actually going to also be extending a bit of generosity in that regard as well. We'd be more than happy to help contribute to that. The wrap for a vehicle, generally speaking, is somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 one time. I would caution before saying how much Bus Up is going to be committing to. However, we are in active discussion about making sure that the vehicle is wrapped. And if it is a challenge for the city, Bus Up will find a way to make it happen.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. let's see, I guess the other thing on that service order text down in the area where it talks about cancellation, providing 60 days prior written notice, etc., that we, the city, would be responsible to pay 75% of the remaining monthly service fees in the event of early termination. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes, you are. And that is because of the capital put into making these projects happen and making sure that as a growing company ourselves, we cannot risk our financial viability. So while we have made certain commitments in the way of foregoing profit for the first year, for example, we need to protect ourselves and also protect our relationships with the bus operator. So the bus operator is going to hire a W-2 employee that is treated very well and receives a good living wage, receives benefits, 401k and so on, and also, you know, provides an hourly commitment of work to that person. So in order to ensure that those things can be provided to the necessary parties, we do have to have some terms like that.
Mhm. Okay. And then one final question. I'm sorry I'm taking so long from my fellow council members.
Don't be sorry.
I'm curious if you have logistically looked at the Sounder station in Sumner and have talked to Sound Transit about allowing you to drive your van in areas where only Sound Transit vehicles are allowed.
Yes, I have been there myself many times. I have driven the shuttle route along with Will Hutchison, our operations manager, who's also on the call. We are locals to the area, have been there, have relationships with Sound Transit, and promise to operate a service that is only permitted in all of the dotted I's and cross T's ways.
Okay, very good. Thank you for your responses.
Councilmember Newman.
Yeah, sorry, it's Mr. Lauderjung, is that correct?
You know, my baseball coach used to say to me when I would go up to bat, a lot are old, a lot are middle-aged, but not a lot are young. I guess that was his way of remembering. So Lauder Young.
Lauder Young. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Where does your company provide services outside of the US?
Yes, for the record, we provide many services in the US. We just have not contracted directly with a city in the United States yet. The, as we call it, sales cycle for these things takes several years in government. And I was hired by this company 2 years ago. So, but globally, we operate throughout Europe with our main markets being Spain and Portugal. There we transport about 30,000 passengers a day in the Europe area. In Latin America, our primary markets are Brazil and Peru, where we transport about an additional 20,000 people a day. And then here in North America, where we operate about 500 routes in Mexico. In the United States, we have 5 major clients. And then in Canada, we are hoping to expand with Amazon in Ottawa. So that is a very real picture of where we are as a company.
Okay, thank you. And then if I remember correctly from one of your previous presentations, you had said something about there being restrictions for a lot of government entities or jurisdictions, because I think, or is that, and maybe it's only Washington State, where legally those who are part of, like, I think I need you to actually say this.
That's okay. I can remind you. I'm really glad you brought this up. Yeah. If I'm not interrupting you.
No, go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you. So in Washington State, shared shuttle programs are illegal. What is a shared shuttle program? Let's define it. A shared shuttle program is when multiple companies, a city, whomever decide to get together, run a shuttle program and divide the cost. So you think about maybe you want to go stay in a nice Airbnb, but it's too expensive. It's $1,000 per night, but there's an empty room. So you decide to invite a friend. Well, now, you're bringing the cost down and making that more accessible, but you're still getting that $1,000 value. This is the benefit of a shared shuttle, is having multiple parties divide the cost. This is illegal in Washington state because Washington state does not want to create competition for the public transit agencies. So they have deemed Pierce Transit and King County Metro in their respective counties and so on to be the authority over areas where service exists. What is unique about East Pierce County is that cities like Sumner voted to leave the service area. There is no duplication of service. The purpose of this service is actually to get people back to public transit. I like to say that this service has two stories. The first is a near-term story. It's getting people that want jobs to companies that want to fill them. That's one. And then the second one being that we can take all of the data and success of this after a year and present it to Pierce Transit and see if it's enough to bring them back. In which case, our company has said openly that we're committed to stepping away and foregoing profit, leaving that money on the table to do the right thing. Our goal is truly to bring back public transportation to your area. That would be just a huge win for us. I hope that answers your question.
It does. Thank you. I couldn't remember I remember there were technical restrictions and there's a reason why it doesn't apply to Sumner, but also a reason why it's very difficult to create this somewhere else in Washington state. So thank you for that. And part of the reason why I bring that up is actually twofold. And now I'm mostly speaking with anyway, thank you for answering the questions. Now I'm mostly speaking with my fellow council members. And that is why I think I understand why it might be unusual and unique and kind of a bold step forward for a small town like us to consider this. I think what is an unfair analogy in terms of thinking about other small towns is we are very unique in that we chose to create a manufacturing industrial center, which I think we should all be very proud of. But that means that brings in as many employees as we have residents. And that comes with a responsibility, I think, in us creating that. Like maybe we didn't fully grasp all of the pros and cons at the time, but we did. And that's why I think we have to jump on this opportunity to at least give it a try. Like, let's try it for a year, because we have the double burden of having the manufacturing industrial center and the burden of us actively choosing to leave the Pierce Transit service area. Had we stayed in that service area, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I believe we'd be going to them, for those services. But because we chose to leave that, we are going to have to accept that some way we have to start supplementing services on our own. So for that reason, I think we need to give it a shot. And then I'll let everyone else discuss. But thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments on this? Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to talk to the representative. I just have a question for you. And that was, thank you for being here tonight, because I think these are questions only you can answer. So you said you've been working on this for years or months or whatever. And I just want to know, what parts of the service have you put in place, or do you have in place and ready to go?
Sure. For clarification, when you say what parts of the service do we have in place, can you clarify?
Well,
I'm using your term. You said you have been working on putting the parts of service into place. So I'm asking what it is that you've worked on and done to put it in place.
Fair enough. Sure. So there are several components to this program. First, there's the relationships with employers. First and foremost, I'll say that it is extremely difficult to even get a hold of somebody at a place like Costco, let alone Amazon, and have them engage their data with you, share their NDA with you, and collaborate with you on how their employees can utilize this service. That's one key component, is that we have multiple employers in this area bought in and ready to not just utilize the service, but as I said previously, help reestablish public transportation in East Pierce County. They see this as a two-step process. They want to utilize it and benefit from it now, but they really want to, they're not going anywhere. They're only going to grow in Sumner, but they need the resources and support to be able to do so. And they want to be part of the solution, which is great. I think that's a really exciting thing. So the relationship is one component. The other component is the actual service and route design, which stems from the first component, building relationships. Once we collect data from these employers that they're willingly sharing with us, and then we are meeting with them, presenting findings, they are helping us to better understand on a per employer basis what their individual puzzle piece looks like. For example, while REI may benefit from their first shift utilizing the shuttle, perhaps Amazon's second shift might be benefiting, and the number of workers, where those folks are coming from, and a number of other factors apply on a per employer basis. So we're really understanding what each employer's puzzle piece looks like, and then working to bring them together into a piece, a puzzle that actually shows the picture. So those are the first two components. The third component is making sure that we can actually deliver the service, for which we have found a former employer of mine, Beeline, who is located in downtown Seattle. Their yard is in the Soto, Georgetown area. They have been willing to also forego profit for the first year of service on this, keeping costs extremely low. And something that hasn't been mentioned while I'm on the topic, and by the way, council member, that was the last piece, but this service was bid on by another shuttle operator who bid it at $27,000 per month. So we are trying very hard to keep this an affordable service that has all of those pieces that we're referring to.
So my second question is, when do you plan to start?
I believe the tentative date, pending your approval, would be January 9th. What we would do following the confirmation of this agreement would be to actually begin meeting with Mr. Windish and our team. That would be myself and Will on site throughout Sumner, actually going and meeting with employers, boots on the ground, shaking hands, letting them know what the process will be like, explain to them about the reservation system and things of that nature. And then also scheduling on-site presentations at their work sites so that I can come and actually explain to their employees how best to use the shuttle. So January 9th would be the launch of service, but the work would really begin now.
So you mean by launch of service, you don't mean you'll have buses running, you'll just begin selling and figuring out who and where it has to go, that type of thing?
January 9th, the bus would be running.
Oh, it would be running. All
Yes,
right.
correct. January 9th, the bus would be running. I'm saying between now and then throughout the year, I'm your man that's going to be going around evangelizing this thing and meeting with people and understanding and knowing each of the leaders within your business community and being that ball bearing, so to speak, between the city and the employers.
Okay, so you'll just continue to work on trying to improve the ridership as time goes on. That will be your part of the situation.
Yes. So that is part of the commitment of our company, Bus Up, and the way that we've designed our program. So theoretically, if you are paying for easy math, $10,000 per month, and you are collecting in your first 3 months, say you're collecting $2,000 back from employers who have a handful of employees riding. Well, fast forward from month 3 to month 6, maybe we've doubled the ridership. Now you're not collecting $2,000 a month, you're collecting $4,000. So now Sumner's not out of pocket $10,000, it's out of $6,000. So then fast forward a few more months to month 9. Maybe we've paid this thing off where every single month we're recollecting $10,000. I don't know if we're going to be there. I promise to do my very best. I feel confident the ridership is there, but we need to trend towards a higher ridership so that Sumner pays less exponentially over time.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. So since this was also at other meetings, we won't be taking public comment on this particular item. So will the clerk please call the roll?
Reed,
Yes.
Potato,
Yes.
Hochstetter,
No,
Cole,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
Stewart,
No.
Brown.
Yes.
Passes 5-2. Okay, on to public comment. So the public is encouraged to submit their comments to the city clerk by email before tonight's meeting. So the clerk may read those emails. Michelle, did we receive any written comments?
No, Mayor, we did not.
We did not. So we do have Kirsten Schrober to speak to us. If you'd like to come up to the microphone, and you will have 3 minutes. So state your name and address and go for it.
Ma'am, Kristen, I'm sorry. Can you push the on off button right in front of you? Mr. Stevens can help you.
There you go.
Kristen Schober. My address is 12902 53rd Street, Court East. I have to actually live up in Edgewood, but we owned a business there at 1005 Main Street. And I'm just here today to talk about the impact of the recent fire. My husband and I have lived in Sumner for 32 years and had a business here for 22 years, the last 7 of which we owned Stuck Junction. We had anywhere from 15 to 20 employees. And unfortunately for us, the fire was pretty devastating. And we've had a lot of questions from the city and from the community and other business owners about, what could be done to help us, or what do we need? Sadly for us, there's really not anything that can be done. But I think that it would be helpful for us as a community to have that more complex conversation about how to handle the homelessness situation. As you all probably know, the fire was started by a homeless gal because she was angry with the city or whatever. And I think, our approach has come from a place of compassion, trying not to pile on to someone who's already struggling with drug or mental health issues. But we're missing the other piece of the puzzle, which is that her behavior is affecting those of us who live in the community and raise our families in the community and have businesses in the community. And I think that we can strike a better balance between helping her have a way to find her path out of this really bad situation that she's in without sacrificing the quality of life and people's opportunity to have a business. The effects For us, this was our retirement plan. We had 15 employees, as I said, that are now all displaced. And I just would encourage you to start that conversation, that we really need to look at the broader picture and both sides of the puzzle. So that's why I'm here today. Thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate your
Kristen.
time.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else? And if you are online and you want to have a public comment, you can pick up your phone and press *9. Seeing none, we will move on to ordinance number 2841, 2021, 2022 biennial budget final amendment. And I would like to have a motion from Deputy Mayor Hochster.
Yes, I move we accept ordinance number 2841, 2021, 2022 biennial budget final amendment.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councilmember Potato. And I call on Chief Financial Officer Cassandra Raymond again.
Thank you very much, Mayor. So welcome to my world. We are often in finance working in multiple years and multiple biennium. We are getting ready to start our 23-24. Thank you for our successful passage earlier, but we still have some work to do in our 2021-2022 biennial budget. So before you is ordinance 2841. This is our final budget amendment. This amendment really is an opportunity for staff to review and make adjustments as necessary for programmatic changes, to ratify actions that have previously been approved by City Council, and to recognize those new revenues that help us offset some of those programmatic changes. For the final budget amendment, this amendment does accomplish several items. It provides for changes in our information technology fund. We've really tried to consolidate and kind of corral all of our IT costs. This is an internal service fund, so any changes to that fund also result in changes to all the user funds. We identify those costs, we allocate them out to the most appropriate user, and then we assess all those back out. So this amendment not only addresses the expenditure increase in our IT fund, but also allocates that out to all of the user funds. A good portion of the amount for our IT department is related to our rollout of Microsoft Teams. This was about $100,000 over 2022, and actually a little bit into 2021, where we'll really see the benefit of this. Not only do we have the benefit of better collaboration, better hybrid opportunities, better collaboration between our staff and our public, but the Teams product also does a lot of things that previously we were kind of having a whole lot of other pieces of software technology handle. So we'll be able to see some expense reduction in future years. For instance, the Teams program will take the place of our obsolete phone system. And so we will see some savings in other areas as a result of that rollout. In our general fund, we also recognize about $121,000 in facility needs and repairs. This also includes repairs that are necessitated by vandalism and other damage. We're recognizing $2,100 in revenue from Nights on Ryan, and then along with the revenue, increasing the Cultural Arts Commission budget by that same amount. In our general fund, we'll be transferring the proceeds from the sale of our Red Apple site to our facilities capital. And this is to support the general fund portion of the Public Works Operations facility. In our utility funds, we have some appropriating funding for our utility and WUNF project from our sewer and our stormwater funds, as well as appropriating $14,200. This is a telemetry upgrade at our central well. And really what this does is isolates the network that the telemetry is based on, which really kind of plugs a cybersecurity hole. And it's part of IT's ever watchful and vigilant eye towards making sure that we are safeguarding our city assets. And finally, we're recognizing increased revenue activity in our cemetery fund. This is revenue from purchasing items for inventory, such as markers, urns, kind of those hard goods that are sold as part of our cemetery packages. So it's recognizing those revenues as well as the expenditures that we're incurring from increasing those. So this is our final budget amendment for 21-22. The next time you'll see this budget come before you is in the first quarter of 2023. I'll come before you with kind of a report card on where we ended up with the biennium. We bring that to Finance Committee, and then we'll bring that before council at a study session to review. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Deputy Mayor Hochstetter.
I just want to thank you, Cassandra, for going over all these numbers with us at study sessions so thoroughly and answering all our questions. That's always very helpful to us so that we have it all clear and we know you're doing a great job. So thank you.
Thanks. I enjoy it.
Any other comments from council members? All right, seeing none. Any member of the public would like to comment on this? You're not jumping up and down today. All right, so Michelle, would you please call the roll?
Hochstetter,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Potato,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Passes unanimous. Thank you. Thanks for all your hard work. All right, moving on to ordinance number 2845, the 2023 compensation schedule. Councilmember Potato, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 2845, the 2023 compensation schedule.
Do I have a second?
Yes, I'll second that.
Second by Deputy Mayor Hochstetter, and I will call on Services Director Jeff Steffens.
Good evening. Ordinance 2845 establishes our 2023 compensation schedule as required by city ordinance, our city municipal code. This incorporates previously approved union collective bargaining agreements and sets the salary for non-represented employees for next year. The council has already adopted a compensation philosophy to be near, but not quite at the top of similar positions at local comparable cities. This was done during our 2021 compensation analysis, and that was defined as being at 95% of the average top three highest. And providing adequate compensation affects our ability to recruit and retain employees. So the good news, all 4 labor contracts are settled for 2023. So we're done, free to move forward to next year without having to still bargain any past agreements or pay any retro pay. The salary amounts presented tonight are at or even slightly below what was in the budget. And we're seeing inflation starting to slow. The bad news, inflation is still at a historically high level. We typically use the June inflation number to set labor rates, and this year that was at 10.1%. Our commissioned police are likely behind the market in that they had their labor agreement finalized well before we saw this record high inflation. And we're still experiencing a very difficult job market. As far as some hiring status, we currently have 5 vacancies. That includes 2 employees that are currently in the background process. But we have hired 28 new employees since the beginning of the year, which is an incredible amount considering we average between 120 or 125 employees, kind of depending on the time of the year. We've also had 7 promotional appointments, and they go through the same process as far as an application and an interview as everyone else. And we have conducted 183 first interviews. On top of that, there's several significant amount of secondary interviews as well. So as far as the actual numbers, proposed for 2023 wages for our unions, 7% for operating engineers, 7% for Teamsters, police support, 7%, that was the contract you ratified tonight. The police commissioned are at 4.5%, and non-represented will be seeing a 6% salary increase. Upon approval, wages would go into effect January 1st, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any discussion or questions for Mr. Steffens? Seeing none. I think you are off the hook, Jeff. So will the clerk please call the roll?
Newman,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Potato,
Yes.
Hochstetter.
Yes.
Passes unanimous. All right. Off onto reports. Deputy Mayor Hochstetter.
Okay, well, I'd just like to thank the crew of the cannery again for all the great decorating they do. They were out there in the cold and they made it look like $1,000,000. And Mr. Radcliffe does a great job of putting on the fireworks show and the tree lighting, and our whole community appreciates that. So thank you to the old cannery.
All right. Councilmember Potato.
Today I received a check from the high school that on the 28th of October, they had the homecoming game and they collected $3,310 for the downtown fires. And so it's good to, see the support of the community. And then I think Kristen Schober's comments are really something that we do need to be considering. How do we help people that are experiencing homelessness and, getting them on a better path than what they are now. So, but thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Cole.
No report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to thank the city staff for the hard work that they've put in all year. I've been on just 2 committees and it's very evident that to me that they are overworked, and now they're closer to being paid evenly, but appreciate everybody doing such a good job, and I wish you all happy holidays. Thank you.
Councilmember Brown.
Nothing, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Newman. Nothing. Councilmember Reed.
Just a quick thank you to everybody that participated and attended the Santa Parade. It was another great time and a great turnout. There were people everywhere and kids smiling, and it's a lot of fun.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson, City Administrator.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Excuse me. Obviously, it's been a long year. All right. So as been alluded to, this is the final meeting of the year. So we will be taking the rest of the month of December off. And we'll be coming back on January 3rd for a regular council meeting. Right now, there's only a couple items on that agenda. However, I know that will change between now and then. But a few things I did want to point out to you. At that meeting, you'll be appointing a new deputy mayor. And then you'll be considering an ordinance to adopt the 0 lot line subdivision code changes that we reviewed at last week's study session. There'll also be some lease agreements related to the recent acquisition of the Nordyke property. As you recall, we have a couple tenants in that parcel, and we need to do some lease back to them as they continue to work towards relocation. I want to provide an update on what the Planning Commission's been working on. They just recently reviewed short subdivisions and pipe stem lots. Both of these are priorities that were identified in the Housing Action Plan. They're also working on a zoning code text amendment to allow for parking in the East Sumner neighborhood MDR zones that are adjacent to neighborhood commercial uses. So those will be working their way through the Planning Commission, and we'll be bringing those to you early next year. With that, I have no other things to report on, and happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Do we have any questions? Seeing none, I think you're free.
Thank you.
So I do want to say that it was a beautiful day for the Santa Parade and was very well attended. And our Santa was our very own Kevin Babick from our Public Works, and he really got into it. So he was probably the happiest Santa I've seen for a long time. And this is our last meeting of the year. I want to thank everybody who attends either online or by phone or in person. It's great. And have a wonderful holiday. We will see you on January 3rd. Meeting adjourned. at 7:04.